Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to episode 1 of Young Justice, Independence Day. We begin this episode on the 4th of July, Independence Day naturally, where we see 4 different superheroes, Batman, Green Arrow, Aquaman, and Flash, taking care of 4 ice-themed villains, Mr. Freeze, Icicle Jr., Killer Frost, and Captain Cold, with the help of their respective sidekicks, Robin, Speedy, Aqualad, and Kid Flash, and they're all in 4 different locations: Gotham City, Star City, Pearl Harbor, and Central City. After all of these ice-themed villains have been taken care of, the 4 duos then head off to Washington, D.C., where the Hall of Justice is. And apparently this is a big day for the sidekicks because this is supposed to be their first steps into becoming full-fledged members of the Justice League. Speedy in particular is really excited about this, and we find out he does not like being called a sidekick. When they enter the Hall of Justice, they're greeted by other Justice League members, Martian Manhunter and Red Tornado, and they get a little tour of the Hall of Justice, and they have access to certain rooms in the Hall of Justice, such as the gym and the library, to name a few examples. When the sidekicks take a rest in one of the sitting rooms, the Justice League members are planning to discuss the fact that 4 ice-themed villains had attacked in 4 different locations simultaneously, thinking that it's not a mere coincidence. But before they can actually use the Zeta tubes, a transportation device, transportation technology that the Justice League uses, they also have designation numbers as well. But before they can head off to discuss the simultaneous crimes further, Speedy complains about how this isn't enough for them to become full-fledged members of the Justice League. The rest of the sidekicks don't understand because they thought having access to certain parts of the Justice League's headquarters would be the first step. But Speedy reveals that the Hall of Justice isn't really the headquarters of the Justice League, but more of a tourist front. The real headquarters of the Justice League is the Watchtower, a satellite in space. And, well, not only are the other 3 sidekicks surprised by this, but the other Justice League members are surprised that Speedy knows about this as well. It turns out Green Arrow told him about it. And Green Arrow thought that there wouldn't be any harm, but yeah, the other Justice League members aren't happy about Green Arrow revealing so much to Speedy. And Speedy decides to actually quit being Green Arrow's sidekick. He throws down his hat and then he walks out of the Hall of Justice. And before anything else can really be done about it, Superman contacts the League members present and tells them that there's a fire at Cadmus. Batman voices his suspicions about Cadmus, but before they can do anything else about it, another Justice League member, Zatara, contacts everyone present that a villain named Wotan is planning to blot out the sun. And Superman decides that the fire at Cadmus is a small one and that the firefighters should be able to handle it no problem, and that the entire league should deal with Wotan's plot instead. And the mentors of the sidekicks present order their young proteges to stay put and not get involved with the Wotan plot. And they all leave. Though Green Arrow comments that Martian Manhunter is probably glad that he didn't invite someone to the Hall of Justice. He only refers to this someone as you-know-who, and Martian Manhunter agrees with those sentiments. When the Justice League members leave, the three sidekicks that are still around are still feeling a little frustrated at how they're being treated and not being able to join in this particular mission. But then they remember Cadmus, and they're not too sure what's the deal with Cadmus, but Robin thinks that if Batman's suspicious about it, it's something worth looking into. The computers in the Hall of Justice are on the same system as the Batcave computers, so Robin's able to hack into it to learn a little bit more about Cadmus. It's a facility that's actually in Washington, D.C., not too far the very same place that they're in right now. So they think that it's worth investigating, thinking that if they solve this particular crisis before the League would, they think it would be poetic justice. So that's what happens. We see them head off to Cadmus. The firefighters are taking care of the fire, and the three sidekicks do manage to help out some of the staff members who are in trouble, and then they enter Cadmus itself. And while Robin's trying to hack into one of the computers, Aqualad notices someone in an elevator, but this someone doesn't look like an ordinary human. And soon the other two join Aqualad and they go into the elevator, and they find out that this is no ordinary elevator, and that what they're aware of Cadmus, they think it's just like a 2-story building. There's actually several basement levels, and while they're down there, they do come across more of these creatures. They're called xenomorphs, and they come in various races, subspecies. There's definitely a lot of variations, and they're all kind of named after like mythical creatures like goblins, trolls, dwarfs, or gnomes. That's it. Yeah, gnomes. You get the idea. Elsewhere, we do see one of the staff members of Cadmus, Mark Desmond, is working on something called Project Blockbuster. And another person at Cadmus is Guardian. He shares the same voice as Speedy, Crispin Freeman in this case. And he explains that one of the xenomorphs had found some intruders. And Mark Desmond didn't hear an alarm, though, so he thinks that maybe it was just confused. But the same individual that Aqualad saw in the elevator earlier, he's a xenomorph too, and the credits refer to him as DoubleX. He thinks that, because Guardian wants to still try and see what was up with these possible intruders, and DoubleX suggests that Guardian just go by himself just in case the xenomorphs don't get hurt in the process. But Mark Desmond insists that having the telepathic abilities of the xenomorphs they can communicate telepathically. He thinks that it's an advantage worth having, but we soon see that the xenomorph that's with Guardian seems to be hypnotizing him or mind controlling him, and yeah, that's more likely the real reason why Mark Desmond wants the xenomorph to stay with Guardian. Eventually, Guardian does come across the sidekicks, and he's surprised that they're intruding, but he thinks it's just a misunderstanding and they can just call the Justice League to straighten everything out. And he seems surprised when they tell him about how the xenomorphs are being raised as weapons. But then he gets put under mind control yet again, so yeah, he orders them to take down the squad of xenomorphs. He orders them to take down the three sidekicks. So the three sidekicks do manage to escape. They end up heading to the bottommost level of Cadmus, because there's something there called Project KR when Robin was hacking the computers there. And DoubleX stops them from going down one particular hallway and starts to attack them. Or like he throws items at them telepathically so this leads them to want to go down the other hallway, which happens to be where Project KR is. And they manage to get in there and lock the door so that Guardian and the Xenomorph squad present can't follow them in. And they find out that Project KR is a clone of Superman, because the big K, the little R, is a symbol for kryptonite. I think kryptonite. And so Superman's clone looks like a teenager. He's biologically 16 years old, but chronologically speaking, he's actually 16 weeks old. And he's wearing a white suit with Superman's crest on it, a red Superman crest on it. It's supposed to allow him to absorb yellow sunlight 24/7, even though he's in a pod in a dark room in the basement. And there are some xenomorphs that are programming and education inside of him. But Superboy himself, they call the clone Superboy. He's asleep, I guess you could say, but he's getting an education and getting yellow sun energy while he's sleeping. And the trio think that they should free Superboy. But while they're doing that, Mark Desmond arrives and he orders the Xenomorph with him to alert the Xenomorphs with Superboy. And they do so. So when they free Superboy, he starts to attack them. And eventually the three sidekicks are knocked out and Superboy breaks open the door for them. So the episode ends with Mark Desmond praising Superboy for taking care of the intruders. So Young Justice is the next show we're going to discuss on the episode recap and thoughts category. And this is in preparation for season 3, which is supposed to be released sometime in 2018, the year that this video is being recorded in. So we have the first episode, and this is part 1. It and part 2 were aired together originally, but we're going to cover part 1 for this particular story in this video, and I enjoyed it. It was a great start to the Injustice series, or this particular adaptation, and it was a nice take. I did like how... Oh, that's right. Yeah, there were a few jokes I did like. Like, there was a couple of mentions of Kid Flash's name was never... A lot of people couldn't get Kid Flash's name right, and there was even one of the spectators at Washington, D.C. even commented how it makes no sense for Green Arrow's sidekick to be named Speedy rather than Kid Flash, because... Yeah, you would think Flash's sidekick would have Speedy. So I thought that was a funny joke. And otherwise, this was also the introduction for this particular version of Aqualad. His civilian name is Calderon, or Calder for short. And he was actually created for this particular adaptation, although he was incorporated into the DC Comics not too long after, although he had a different civilian name in the main comics of DC. They called him Jackson Hyde in those comics, and the comic was actually released to the public before Young Justice aired on TV, but yeah, this Aqualad was created for the Young Justice TV series. And otherwise, they definitely managed to lay out a lot of future plot points, like the ice-themed villains all attacking. Batman is right, that's no coincidence, and we will find out more about that in the future. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And yeah, 16 is also a number that we see repeated throughout the series. That's because this universe, the Young Justice TV series universe takes place on Earth 16, so you can expect to hear more of the number 16 in the future. And otherwise, yeah, I mean, there is a lot to... We do get a hint of another character who's to come in the next episode, the you-know-who that Green Arrow was talking about in reference to Martian Manhunter, so we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but yeah, I do admit there is so much to say about it, but I did enjoy this. I remember when I first watched Young Justice, it really caught my attention, and I definitely was looking forward to seeing more of it, and I'm glad that Season 3 is coming in the future, so I think this will be a great way to build up to the excitement for when Season 3 is released to the public. But otherwise, yeah, this is mostly a lay out the foundation sort of episode. They set up so many things, and we'll get the payoff for them at different points in the future. But otherwise, I did find it to be very exciting, and we'll go into more details for more specific things in the future. But yeah, that was about what I had to say. I think it was a great start for Young Justice, and we'll discuss more in the future. Take care, and until next time.